Hi, this is a quick demo of the Elysium Extra SDK, and this is the standard Elysium sample application that you will have seen already. And if you click on this right button here, this is the Elysium Extra sample application. It's just got a bunch of tabs at the top with all new styles and controls which have been added to the application. There's a bunch of tabs here at the beginning showing you the differences between Elysium and Elysium Extra, what the differences are in the controls, the themes, some practices there. There's some extra colors in here, so you've got kind of a lighter versions of the accent brush for grouping. You've got some common applications that have the sort of branded colors, and you've got some action colors in here. So these action colors are borrowed from the Visual Studio icon guide. So you can see this image here, and this has been borrowed straight from Visual Studio and shows you where these different colors could be used. So you've got a yellow there for a warning, and we've got a yellow warning brush here as well. There's a type ramp provided, so you've got different text styles: header, normal, bold, accent and contrast. Put them together and they look quite nice. You've got some guides in here on how to use the Elysium margins, because they use kind of a standard way of doing them. There's some built-in converters in here. There's a separator, a few different types of borders for you to use. There's various different types of panel. These are sort of the built-in ones, and then you've got an animated wrap panel. I don't know if you saw that when I came in here, that sort of animated in, and a virtualizing wrap panel as well for better performance. The scroll bars, so there's you can't see this, but I'm middle click scrolling over this list box and it's not working because it's surrounded by a scroll viewer. But if you click this, that starts working, and that just bubbles up the scroll wheel events to the parent scroll viewer. We've got different types of buttons. These are the Elysium ones. We've also got a hyperlink button in here, and the standard Elysium command buttons, except they've been slightly modified so that when you hold them they use the accent color. If we click on icon, you'll see that there's about 3,000 icons built into this application, and you can use this text box over here, and if I type in, I don't know, add, you can search for some of the different icons, and you can see that they're using the action colors over here. So positive action brush for positive actions like add, and you can also apply an overlay. So an overlay is just another icon and overlaid on top of the existing icon, and you can just type in any name of an icon into this text box and it will appear as an overlay. And there's different sizes. You can go for a custom size as well if you wanted to. So there's a medium and a small. So the small you'd use in menu items, so that's why you don't see the overlay, because they're a bit too small to show an overlay icon. And then they've got, these are geometry based, by the way. These text icons are text based, so if you can type in a character in here. I had a copyright symbol in there a second ago, and you can use the symbol characters in here. So there's all kinds of, most people don't know this, but there's all kinds of icons which can, all kinds of characters which are actually icons in the font. Again, there's the same size options, and you got image versions of the icons as well. So this is just a PNG, and we're using an opacity mask on the PNG to convert it into an icon. And again, you've got an overlay icon here and a size option. If we click on import, we've got some extra text box styles. So this extended version of the text box has a watermark on it. We've got styles for multi-line text boxes rather than a single line, and you've got filter text box here as well, which shows this filter icon in the watermark. If we click on rich text box, we've got a rich text box style. You've got a menu bar at the top here, so you can cut, copy, paste, undo, bold, italic, underline. You can choose a font size, and using this nice bar there, you've got bullets, formatting, and you can change the alignment as well. You've got a smaller version of the toolbar as well, using some small icons without text. And the rich text box has been extended, so you've got access to the plain text, the rich text, or the XAML text as well. Next we've got button text box. These are just a text box with a button on the right hand side. So we use this for some examples here. So search, sort of a directory selector, refresh, stuff like that. We've got date picker. So date picker has been nicely styled. So you can click on the year there, click on the date, and the calendar is here as well. So stuff to do. There's a time picker on its way, date time picker on its way, and a color picker on its way. Standard Elysium checkbox, toggle switch, radio buttons there, combo box, so you use your standard combo box, and you've got a combo data grid as well. So it's basically a data grid inside a combo box, which I've found to be very useful. And if I click on numeric, you've got a numeric up-down control. So there's loads of different types of these. So there's one for decimal, double, integer, short, long, byte, single. You can see the full list there. So you've got the option to show a button spinner, so you can click on the up-down buttons there. You've got format string for the number. You can also click on this checkbox here to show the number as red if it's a negative, and then you've got the standard sort of maximum, minimum options here. So you can also type in here some nice numbers. Validation. This is very cool. So validation is built into Visual Studio. If you click on that, and if you type in this, and if you enter a number more than 0 and select a different date, all of these become valid. You can see these ones are the default styles for combo box, text box, and integer, up, down, and date picker, and they all go pink when they're invalid, and they go white when they're valid. So those are all built in. This is this tick here and the warning symbol is a validation content control wrapped around these controls, and it just shows this really nice sort of animated icon here on the left hand side. By the way, you can hover your mouse over these controls and you can see why they're invalid as well. Click on animation. There's some animations have been really made as simple as possible in this SDK. So you can literally with 1 or 2 lines add animation to an items control or any other control. So in an items control you can animate items in the items control out or in, and then you've got options for sequential or random, so they're randomly animating in and out, and these are doing it sequentially. Or you can, if you've just got a single control, you can do the same thing there. If you click on drag and drop, so this is a demo of how to do drag and drop. this has been made super simple, completely MVVM friendly. The drag operation has been separated from the drop. So with the drag, you just need some data that you want to drag. There's an effect here, which is just a Windows thing, which just changes the, you see the little plus there next to the cursor, that's what that is. There's a format here, so you can have multiple formats, and then you can even have a custom drag template, which is what you're seeing there. And then when you see when I'm hovering over this drop area, we've got a border brush, a sort of grey border appearing around it as well, and you've got options to turn off drag and drop and all of that nice stuff. And then drag viewer down here, you can see if you watch this false here, when I drag, you can see that turns true. You can do some quite fancy stuff with that. So if you're doing a drag operation, you can change some other stuff around the screen based on that true or false value using some triggers or something. If I scroll down a little, you can also reorder data grid or list box items using this nice drag and drop sort of separator. And then you've got some just styles here which are used in the drag and drop process. If I click on tree view, we've got the tree view style there, and a graph tree view, which is the exact same code here, just a style applied to this tree view, and it turns it to a horizontal version of the tree view, so it kind of collapses there nicely, and you can kind of select an item and it turns blue. Very nice. Elastic picker, this is a very cool control. So this is where you've got a whole collection of people in this example, and if I select eye color green, it selects only the green people, people with green eye color. If I select female, it selects only the females with green eye color, and you can see the rest of these items have been collapsed. You can see that some of these have been collapsed as well, and it tells you the number of people in each category as well. So if I click on that, you can see the numbers here are decreased accordingly. Very cool control. You can see the numbers there, how many people are left over after you've made your selection. Super cool. You can also hover your mouse over this title here and you can filter. So if I type in, say, Jordan, you can see it's filtered the items there. I can also click this button here to clear the filter and it goes back to normal. And this here is just when I click on this, what you're seeing is a animated wrap panel, which is just animating these items around. You've got, these are just sort of different ways to visualize the selected items produced by this control. There's a few different ways you can do it. There's a sort of a paging control here. This is my favorite. So this animated wrap panel. You've got this here is just showing you how to access the selected items in each category, and then you've got settings for each category as well, so whether or not you want the count to be visible, filters, all kinds of interesting stuff in here that you can have a look at your leisure. You can also hide the filter and reset it as well if you want to deselect stuff. If I click on expander, there's a bunch of expander styles. So this is just a headed content control, but these are expander styles. So you can see there's a nice animation on there. This is one with no animation. And there's also an accordion control. So this is an accordion item. This is borrowed from the WPF toolkit, but it was broken in the WPF toolkit and it has been fixed. So there's different options for this. So if I select 0 or more, you can see that the way they open changes there with that. If I click on flyout, this is a Windows 8 style flyout which pops in from the right hand side there, or indeed any side you choose. Just pop it in from the right. Very cool control. Expander menu, this is nice. This is I've used it in the data grid. So when you click on a row, it appears, and you can use it instead of a context menu. So you can delete an item. The idea is to move this item up or down, or edit it. So that's very nice. And there's some options here about where you want to expand it. It's just an expander combined with a bunch of buttons. Click on paging. This is just a paging control. You can put anything in here, and it splits it up into different pages and allows you to transition between them in a sort of nice sliding manner. Wizard is a very cool control, and pretty much the basis of most of the screens I build. So it allows you to structure different pages. So if you have a Silverlight application, you would be familiar with paging, but WPF doesn't really have that. So we've built this control. At the moment it's in tree mode, so these pages are structured in a tree structure, and you can use this breadcrumb at the top to switch between pages. So I can actually click on this here and change pages and sort of drill through, or go back, or click on home to go back to the home page. And you can see there's some nice tooltips and stuff in there. There's also linear mode. This is where you've just got page 1 followed by 2 followed by page 3, and it just gives you a way to switch pages there. You can see that animation goes all the way to the top, but normally this control would be at the root of the window, so you'd only see it in the title bar. But it's a sort of nice animation. And there's also, if I click on none, then it gets rid of the top sort of breadcrumb or navigation bar, and you can deal with navigation yourself by adding some buttons in here into this application, into this area, and do navigation yourself, which is very simple to do. It's literally just binding with the relative source to this wizard control. Very, very cool control. Web browser, not very useful. Flip control is pretty useful. So it's just an items control, but with an items control that only shows the selected item. So this here, for example, if I've got all these colors, I want to show this color, the one that's selected, and it just shows the selected one here. And it's useful, very useful for numbers. So if I type in a 0 here, you'll see what I mean. It kind of navigates between the numbers until it gets to the right one. Very cool. Focus visual style. So you'll see that if I tab to this control, you can see the visual style, focus visual style has been changed, so that it sort of pulses instead of the grey dotted lines you normally get if you use WPF. If I click on progress, you can see that there's a progress bar built into the window. That's just an Elysium feature, but there's also now added support for progress bar in the task bar, and there's also some useful controls called loading content, and it's just a content control with a boolean value, and if you uncheck that, it shows a progress bar and kind of fades the content in and out. And there's two options there for you to choose, is either a circular or a straight progress bar there for you to choose from. If I click on window, this is the window style. So there's various options on here. There's a couple of examples here of Windows styles you can use. These are built-in ones, but the application, the window, is totally customizable. So you can remove drop shadows, change background, various different options. So there's title bar colors and title bar content. You can see that there. There's all kinds of options which have been added. Some drop shadow options, so you can change that to, I don't know, let's change that to 15, and change that to 15 as well. And you can see that the shadow's been, drop shadow's been increased there. The window becomes with a full screen mode, so you can hit F12 to go full screen or escape to exit. I'll just change that option back to how it was. So there's that. And there's also the ability to save window placement. So there's a property on the window with which is just a string, and it outputs this XML, and it deals with all kinds of multi-monitor scenarios where you've got more than one monitor and you move your window between monitors and you resize and all kinds of stuff. It deals with all that. Here's an overlay window. So this is just another type of window style, but it overlays an existing window. So there's various options in here again for how you want to display the content, some brushes and stuff you can choose from. You can also show it over the full screen as well, and there's different options for colors and stuff as well. So it's a bit like Windows 8. Message dialog is the same thing, except it's showing a window, a message box, sorry. Notify box is a bit like the Outlook new email message dialogues that pop up. If I click on list box, these are just some list box styles. So there's the default list box style. There's also this sort of fisheye list box control, so you can click on that. It's quite useful. I kind of use it as a tab control in a few places. Very interesting. There's a notes list box here, so when you hover your mouse over it, it kind of pops up, and in this case I've used it as, I've put a rich text box in it with a rich text toolbar in it. If you click on this button here, it just fires a command of your choosing, so you could use that to delete this note, for example. If I click on data grid, the data grid has been totally restyled, so you can see that it's got a sort of accent color, border, header here. There's some display options here, so you can change the number of decimal places in this last column at the end. You can also zoom. I've used that in a few places. Very useful if you've got a grid and you've got large amounts of data in there. Just an example of how I've used these buttons for export in the past. If I select read only false, you can double click and edit some of these, so that's all supported. You can see that validation is also supported, and there's a few extra types of columns here, like a progress bar column, various extra options here that you can mess about with. The grid has been improved somewhat, so if I do this and enable grouping, you can see that there's group styles already set up there, and you can see there's a count there at the end. Key command, so this fires a command when you hit a particular key. Event command fires a command when you fire a particular event, and so on. Here's a sort of pop-up here, the nice drop shadow and sort of triangle coming out of where it was popped out from. App bar, these are just some buttons which have been created from the icons I showed you earlier, and they're sort of common things like cut, copy, paste, save that every application needs. There's some, you can have a look at that. There's some few examples in there. If I click on menu item, this is very similar. It's just some menu item buttons. Slider menu items, these are just menu items which use a slider, and you can have a look through there. And this is just the ability to treat menu items like a radio button. So overall, that's the Elysium Extra SDK. Hope you enjoy it, and have a look at the code on Codeplex, and that's pretty much it, so I'll say goodbye.